Good morning and welcome to the Trade Setup right here on BQ Prime. I'm Neeraj Shah. Let's take stock of the key newsmakers and the global news flow. Remember, there's a bunch of news to take stock of today. So Marriott beat estimates as travel boom continues despite uncertainty, and that should hold a lesson for everybody looking at the hotel space, because it's not just in India but across the world that travel is booming, and therefore the future of the hotel industry for now, at least in markets where the demand supplies mismatch, looks okay. Gold steadied after jumping almost 2% on growing safe haven demand. Asian markets start lower amidst the US banking woes, and the Federal Reserve is expected to deliver a 25 basis point hike later today. Maybe there'll be a pause afterwards, but I think the Fed holds the key as to what the markets could do in the very, very short to medium term. What did the US markets do though overnight? I think they corrected a little bit on the banking woes. So about 1% lower for the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq a piece. The other cues haven't changed too much. But remember, like on your screen, dollar index flat, 10-year yield at 3.4 odd, S&P VIX up 10%, yes, 17.78, but within acceptable territory. India VIX is even lower, and the SGX Nifty could be, well, I don't know what kind of an indication would it give, because remember, our markets have been doing well despite the fact that the global markets are not. Yesterday too, the Asian screen was red, Europe was down, US futures were down, and we still did about 0.4%. So the SGX Nifty may indicate a flat start to a marginally lower start, but not necessarily that's how we will shape up. I think it'll be interesting to see how the day shapes up. Now, how the cues are set up is the key thing. So there are two important factors from a market's perspective, or three important factors. One is, of course, results and how they drive. But yep, the macro cue is extremely important. Oil steadied after slumping 5% as demand concerns escalated. Now, India's crude imports from Russia apparently fell to the cheapest since the war. Uh, the March average was $70 a barrel. And remember, March and April in particular, had a fair degree of volatility. So it'll be important to see if the April averages were higher. But if not, then India is actually getting a really good piece of what's happening on oil. And I think tomorrow or day after, we're doing a very interesting conversation with Charles Gav of Gavical Research, who's spoken at length, or who's written at length about this oil macroeconomics and how India is a part of a new world order and things are dramatically improving. I think it'll be a very important conversation that you might want to tune in to understand the oil macro and the impact on India from a global watcher's perspective. Therefore, what's the trade setup for the day? The markets moved higher despite the hesitant Asian screen and the weak Western markets yesterday. And there was a very strong move in mid caps in particular. The advanced decline was at 3:2, which is very strong. There are immediate supports for the Nifty if we start off lower and go lower, which are placed at around 18,030 and 17,930, while the resistance is seen at around 18,260. We're now starting to see laggard pockets, PSU infra, textiles starting to make large moves. Remember yesterday, the Orcons and the RVNLs of the world were up and active in textiles. We had Indocom, we had Welspun making some 14-15% up moves yesterday, which is very, very strong and very, constructive from a perspective of somebody who's watching at hesitant or beaten down pockets, trying to make a comeback, seeing such ferocious moves. Just shows that there is some money now starting to chase the underperforming mid caps and small caps, which is also actually a positive sign, maybe. It's a big day for results as well, not so much in terms of index because there's only Titan, but look at the non-index large caps. There is ABB, Adani Wilmar, Havells, MRF, considering the fact that tire companies are expected to post good numbers, Godrej Properties in real estate space. We spoke about how textiles are doing well, so KPR Mills would be in focus. Sona Electric, after a very strong quarter three, expected to post a strong quarter four. So that one could be in focus. Sula Vineyards and whole wine tourism and the wine culture in India. Important to see what that consumption is looking like. So a bunch of very interesting numbers to come out today, which might set the stage for what happens in trade tomorrow, or maybe even a better part of today. By the way, speaking of today, results which will and news which will set stage for today. A bunch of them. I'll start off with the non-result boys and then move on to the result boys. So the non-result space. Vedanta and Hindustan Zinc. Promoter Vedanta has encumbered about 8 crore shares of subsidiary Hindustan Zinc on April 28th, representing about 1.91% stake of the total share capital. for a loan to raise long-term working capital. Now, there are these pulls and pressures around the Vedanta Group companies. Bloomberg has reported extensively about the kind of woes that might be there for the Anil Agarwal Group. Does this kind of um, make one more piece to the puzzle in terms of the news flow around Hindustan Zinc? Maybe watch out for Hindustan Zinc and Vedanta, both of them. Hindustan Zinc in particular would be in focus. Then Indostar Capital Finance. The company will open its two-day offer for sale on May 3rd, which is today. The promoters will offload more than 1.93 crore shares, representing about 14.21% stake of the company. Now, this is happening at a base price or a floor price of 95 rupees per share. So that has to be kept in mind. And I was trying to, I mean, relative to the current capital price or relative to the current price, expect a bit of a sharp drop in Indostar Capital Finance. Then Ahluwalia Contracts. The company's received an order worth 2,450 crores from Rail Land Development Authority for redevelopment of the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj terminus in Mumbai. 2,450 is a fairly large order for Ahluwalia Contracts. I would suspect that the stock should react positively today. Excuse me. Then we look at the numbers. So Tata Steel, to start off with the Q4 numbers. We don't have brokerage notes as yet, remember, because the con call is slated at 2 p.m. today, but just look at the absolute numbers, much better than estimated. On most counts, revenues fine, 62,961 on the base of 60,000 is okay. But it is the EBITDA performance and the EBITDA margin beat on the India business which led to this. EBITDA margins at 11.47. The Bloomberg estimates were 9.4. That's a 200 basis points EBITDA margin beat on that base, by the way, is quite amazing, and should augur well for Tata Steel, I would suspect today. Net profit down 82%, of course, but was anticipated to be so and has done much better, primarily, I reckon, because of the EBITDA margin beat. So did very well. Higher average selling price, lower coking coal cost, all of them helped um, this one do very well on the EBITDA front. I would suspect that Tata Steel could do well today. Maybe Ambuja too could do well today. Stark contrast to ACC's fortunes, by the way, but the numbers looked okay. Revenues up 8.5% at 4,256 crores. The estimates were 4,184, so largely in line. EBITDA though, 788 versus 827, marginally lower. And margin estimates too, marginally lower, 18.52 versus 19. Actually, it's not marginally lower, quite a bit lower, but the net profit largely in line with estimates. So it's a bit of an EBITDA miss, but the point is brokerages seem to be enthused by these numbers. So I brought the Nuama note on Ambuja. They say they have a buy. The target price has been raised to 458, valuing the company at about 15 times EV EBITDA for Q4 on an FY25 basis. They say it delivered an impressive margin recovery, which is true on a QOQ basis. The volumes grew about 8%. Cost control measures, including synergies with ACC, led to cost per ton coming off 6% QOQ. And they say that the company is targeting about 300 to 400 rupees per ton improvement in EBITDA in FY24 through cost optimization. They've revised their EBITDA guide numbers by 7% and 5% for 24 and 25 respectively. Remember, viewers, the whole idea of people turning bullish on Ambuja in the first place was that they'll be able to have multiple synergies, including coal, transport, logistics, and ACC, and therefore EBITDA numbers will improve quite quickly for Ambuja. Is it happening at the pace that people would have envisaged earlier? Maybe not. But is there improvement? Sure. So remains to be seen how this one reacts. It's kind of wedged in this very tight sub 400 or around 400 kind of a range, and kind of moves in or around that. Can it do something different today? Remains to be seen. Sell side is constructive. Let's wait and watch if there are buyers. Standard disclosure, of course, that Ambuja is a part of the Adani Group, and the Adani Group, through Adani Media Ventures, which is a subsidiary of Adani Enterprises, holds 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime, which is the platform that you're watching. Just wanted to make that standard disclosure. Then KEI Industries Ho-hum quarter largely in line with estimates, just no deviation at all, and therefore may not be too much of a reaction. We just thought we'll bring it to you because it's an important stock, and decent numbers, by the way. EBITDA margin expanded, net profit up 19%, revenues up 10%. Not a bad quarter. So just purely on the back of the performance that it has come, maybe could be a bit of a reaction, but numbers largely in line with estimates. M&M Financial, which rallied quite a bit yesterday on the back of Q4 numbers and then cooled off subsequently, has come out with the April business numbers, and those two look okay. I mean, the overall disbursement increased about 39%, collection efficiency improved to 92%. So all of that augurs well for M&M Financial. In fact, if I'm not wrong, there is a note of Jeffries on this as well, which is the Q4, or rather the April update, and they say it's a healthy disbursement. The range-bound asset quality, risk reward appears balanced for according to them on the stock. Their target price is 270, which is what they had said yesterday as well. So no changes there, but decent month. So it was on an uptrend, cooled off a bit yesterday. May have a bit of a positive move today as well. Remains to be seen if the market is supportive for that. Aztec will certainly have a negative move, not the best of quarters. It's a very illiquid stock, mind you, viewers. You just can't trade it intraday, but if you have it, well, disappointing numbers, very, very disappointing numbers. Goes in line with most of the other companies which have done that. Remember, Laura said a terrible quarter too. The point is what people believe, whether the pain is in the price or no. And if people believe, I read one note which said that maybe the pain is in the price, and who knows, may not react. But if you don't know this business too well, please don't go out and try and bottom fish there, because these numbers are really abysmal. EBITDA margin collapsing 2,000 basis points. When was the last time you saw something like this? So not the best of numbers. Good performance instead for the PSU banks, Punjab and Sindh Bank, UCO Bank, very, very good performance in quarter 4 for each of these. Asset quality improved quite substantially on a sequential basis. Maybe we see the PSU banks do a bit more from what they've done earlier. And they've put up a really good show thus far. From a brokerage view, I thought one brokerage note stood out for me, Varun Beverages. The numbers were didn't set the stage on fire yesterday, but Jeffries has come out with a note. They've raised the target price by 110 rupees to 1650. They've raised the EPS estimates by 4 to 6%, and they've retained a buy rating. They say it's another quarter of robust growth despite unseasonal rains in March. Strong India volume traction and higher per case realization, especially in India, like I said. And the management's outlook is positive on the ongoing peak season with new capacities now in place. Can they improve upon their volumes? That's the key thing. And they've had a good volumes, but just can they do better than that also in the months of April, May, June, which are peak summer months, so to say. So, yep, Warren Beverages should be watched out for. Yesterday corrected a little bit after the numbers. Can it recover a little bit post the con call and the management commentary? And the brokerage notes is the key question. And also watch out for Cummins. I think they gave a positive guidance, global Cummins, and spoke about how India and China, I believe, have seen an increase in demand. Maybe that augurs well for Cummins, so do watch out for this one as well. Results, I think, on May 24th. Be mindful of that. Watch out for MRF today in terms of results. Watch out for Titan in terms of results. Should be interesting, both of these. And a few others, of course. Havells most certainly is to be watched out for. So these are a few names: Sula Vineyard, Sona Comstar. All of these come with numbers today. We'll be talking to some of those managements tomorrow, Titan and Sona Comstar in particular, Havells too. So it promises to be a packed day, both from a results perspective as well as reaction to results. Watch out for oil sensitives in particular by virtue of what oil is doing and coming off quite rapidly. So it has come off quite rapidly despite the OPEC moves. So all of this probably over well. And sometime during this week, like I said, a very important conversation with Charles Gabb of Gavical Research. So that is something that might pique your interest. So watch out for this as well. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup, viewers.